folks. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, the NBC network with your host, Hurricane Ace. This is the Age Factor. Another day, another show, a great topic, a topic that we all need. Most definitely. I mean, we all need some personal development every now and then. Nobody's perfect, and we always can use the help. And my guest today is going to give us guidance on that. He does this work to help people be better emotionally, and just work things around and I guess work throughout depression, anxiety, stress, the whole nine that everybody experiences every now and then. So without any further ado, I have with me Danny Cardenas. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. Very
Oh,
much
listen,
so.
listen, man, this is going to be a fun topic, and people may think like, well, listen, I don't need any help. I'm more fully developed. And by the way, I think we all make that feeling or that definition to ourselves. Sometimes we just give ourselves that entitlement that we're good. But there is none of us that I'm not, and I don't think you are, Danny. And I think, many of us, if you just look into the mirror and ask the question, are you really 100% where you want to be? And even if you are today, it's not where you want to be the next day. So it's a constant struggle. We need to get into always a mood of development and really just to have that habit and a pattern to do so. Sometimes we need help. So Danny, before we get deep into this, let's talk about Danny's story. How did Danny start? His journey and where you started this particular program. This particular work that you do today.
Absolutely, sir. So I'm based out of here, South Florida, okay? I was actually born in Washington, D.C., lived in that area till the age of 8, but moved down here with my family as a kid at the age of 8 years old. I'm 33 years old now, been here my whole life, essentially. I'm a Floridian, thick and thin. And so growing up, I was birthed into a good family. And my family's from Bolivia, hardworking folks. My dad did things like sold cars, mechanic work. My mom was a waitress, very blue collar. Great folks, great ethics, and they taught me well. However, this is going to tie into my personal development coaching, by the way. Good people with a lot of vices, though, like all of us. Like you were just saying, no one's infallible. We all have our things, as they say, right? My father, very principled man, but at the same time hindered by things like alcoholism, unfortunately, very common. My mom, very nice person, one of the most graceful people you'll ever meet. I probably get my joyful attitude from her, frankly. You know how that works. But very submissive in a sense, never really stood up for herself. And that ties into the family life. My father, with his drinking, unfortunately, would become very aggressive. That would cause domestic issues. As a kid watching this, that caused me to grow up wanting more for myself, but at the same time conflicted. Anger that arises from the household usually. Kids are sponges. And so I grow up, do the whole high school thing, do college on and off. It took me like almost 7, 8 years to get my bachelor's, but I finally did it. Um, but after high school, I just did what I could. I went for the college thing. Not really. It was weird, man. It was something that I had to do in my mind. Along the way, I got the college degree. I worked at in hospitality mostly, restaurants, things like that. Finally, ventured off into sales at the age of 24. I'm still doing sales full time right now. However, what did I learn over time, sir? That my true passion is personal development. It goes back to my childhood, wanting to be better than what I saw growing up. People who were undisciplined with alcoholism, emotional unregulation, anger, turning to vices to cope with it, alcoholism. You get it? And so throughout the years, even at times if my path wasn't so focused, I always did one thing on the side that helped me liberate myself. Personal development, fitness, nutrition, just trying to do as many productive habits as I could. I stumbled a lot and I still do, but that at least I can say, man, with honesty in my heart, that it helped me to not go to the wayside and end up in jail or using drugs or anything like that. Thank God. I think my personal development process that I cultivated on my own instinctively has helped me. But now I realize as I'm getting older, a little thing called karma exists. And I've learned over time, man, you got to give to people what works for you, what makes your life better, or else you're being selfish and not in a good way. So if I'm here smiling, talking to you about my personal process, how it's helped me, it's the only right thing to do to share this happiness, this joy with people who need it too, men in particular. We need it, man. Just like my father did, just like I did. I mean, we need to do it not just for us, but for our people, man, our kids, our wives, coworkers. They're watching, man. As men, we need to lead, but we need to be better men to begin with.
That's quite a bit. And first of all, thank you for sharing because I mean, not everybody has the, I guess, the willingness to go on air and talk to people and be listened to across, the globe about their background, the history, the stories, and their upbringing, and their struggles. But frankly, we go through things, and sometimes it's always beneficial for us to share, some of the values that we've learned over time with others. So maybe we can kind of prevent some of these folks to go through the same path that we've gone through. And by the way, I've shared a lot of my own story over different shows, and whether I'm being interviewed or to our interviews, I always give nuggets of my life. Depends on the different discussions we have. But the fact is, we all have something to give to people, and the journey of development for us is never ending. And actually, a person will literally need to be developing themselves over and over time until they're basically no longer in this world. Because every time we need to, whether it's in intellectual stuff or whether it's in health, whether in relationship, whether it's just, being better person, whether being disciplined to be against, all the, I guess, the distractions of the world and devices, because those can be destructive. And there's always a reason behind these things. I mean, I love what you said. I mean, the story is the story of many, and we are in the States, and it's an immigrant country. And you and I, we were having a little chat about that Miami gate that flooded, the aliens came through, and all that stuff. And so this is true story, guys. Just as you watch and listen. So Danny and I were just getting acquainted, and he's like, I'm in Florida. I'm like, north of Miami, and I was like, oh, so you seen any aliens recently in the gate, stuff. Now that sounded so cliche because if you think about it, right, Miami is an immigrant port and stuff. So it sounded like I was just like making a joke, but I really was talking about the whole thing that went viral about a few weeks ago, where the cops were in downtown Miami, and all these sirens and the lights and people running at the mall and all the stuff. So that was that. But really, we live in a country that has been pretty much built by immigrants. I mean, we're 330 millions, but we go back 4, 5, maybe 6 generations back, and that's about it. And there's some new flows coming in, and people come in for a better opportunity. And by the way, there's other. We used to refer to this as the American dream. I have it. Your parents had it. But frankly, there's other dreams out there. Some people go to Australia. Some people go to Dubai now. That's the dream. That's the new one, right? Some people go to Europe. Depends where your destination, where you come from, what your connection with the world is. I mean, a lot of imperialism caused a lot of colonialism, and therefore, some of these people kind of were taken back from their homelands, in a different level. Whether back in the days with slavery, and then it became just labor, but it's kind of all the same. People go into these countries and they kind of make generation zero, and then go on to 1, 2, 3, and now they have new generations of diverse ethnicities and things. But at the end of the day, culturally, there's a lot of things, but it comes with a lot of work. As you said, your family, hardworking folks. When you come to a new country and you're obviously running from, not running, but trying to be somewhere better and improve your life, and obviously give a better life to your kids. Because sometimes, unfortunately, that's what it is. There's poverty around the world. There is limited resources. There's limited opportunities in some parts of the world more than others. And so you look for opportunities where they are. In the States, we can say that at least for the previous decades, it's been a lot more opportunity than maybe today, as the economy is a little low and it's more difficult, but it's still out there. If you want something, you can still get it out here. And so your parents did that work, but it came with some sacrifice and also some difficulties. And you're right, when people get stressed, uh, first thing that happens is that they try to find something to kind of just drown themselves into. And a typical one would be an addiction, such as alcoholism. And then alcoholism will probably become, a real problem. And then that problem tends to typically go into anger, and then it affects the family and affects all the stuff. And now it impacts also the kids. I mean, you growing up, you've seen some of that stuff. It has an impact on you. The good news is you did not, you know, kind of partake in that, because some people actually see that and that becomes a pattern. They learn it, that becomes them. You didn't. I want to touch on something also that you stated, which is, you took 6, 7 years, whatever, 7 to 8 years into college, right? And just for people that are watching, listening, in some countries, that opportunity may not exist. And because our show is international, some countries, if you miss that window of college, you might not get it later.
Mhm.
And that is a fact in a lot of places. I mean, I'm originally from Morocco, and typically, if you miss that, right after high school and all the stuff, you may not be able to get back. Now, you might, but you have to do this stuff, limited. It's not the same as, for example, on the stage. You can come back at 60, 70 and still go get a college degree. There's never a too late, concept here. Some parts of the world, I think, is the same. But there are parts where that's basically a gone. If you miss that window, it's over. It's like a space shuttle. You need a window to enter the Earth, otherwise you bounce back, right? Well, that can happen. In your case, you didn't give up on that. You had to figure yourself out, and you did. And by the way, that's a message for everyone that is going through the same. You might have a difficulty today. You may not be sure about where you want to be, what kind of education you want to have, but at the end of the day, it's available and you can still do it. Now, obviously, it costs money to go to college in the States, so therefore that's also sometimes a difficulty because you have to find the means to go through it by providing, by getting a job, maybe getting free tuition or whatever, tuition reimbursement from some jobs. Sometimes you just have to save money. Sometimes you got to get loans. And it's different ways. Some people go to the military to get a GI Bill, kind of thing to pay for the school. There's a lot of ways to do it. But nevertheless, you can do it, and there is an opportunity, and it's never too late. And that's really the message that I want to get from what you stated. And so you did get that, and it's an important piece to have. I mean, it's just a paper. I mean, maybe society needs that paper. Doesn't mean that someone without it is less smart or whatever, but it does open a few doors. It's not about the learning piece because you can learn anything today, anytime. You don't need to go to school to really get it. But it's a formal education. It gives you structure. It gives you certain things. It gives you that status, piece, that you've gone through the system, and it gives you maybe a better qualification than someone who may not have one. Now, that doesn't always work. You can have maybe none and still be successful and be a millionaire, but that's less opportunities. And of course, when you look at the job opportunities, they probably would look at someone with a better degree than less degree or no degree. It is just how it is. That's how they filter candidates, right? So
Right.
thank you, Danny, for sharing that part. Because, and again, I just wanted to kind of re-highlight these things because for our audiences, sometimes we tend to like feel like it's the end, it's over, blah blah, but it's not the case. You actually took it the right way. You saw everything, you make the opportunity work, and eventually you feel, I need to do more. And not only for yourself, but you do it for others. So now let's talk about what it takes to self-develop, right? Whether in person or through, using a mentorship or a coach program.
Honest self assessment. It begins with the self honesty. You cannot get anywhere without really sitting down with yourself, being completely transparent, as they love to say it nowadays, but for real. Look at yourself in the mirror, literally and figuratively, and say, hey, what does Danny do well and what does he do bad? What can he amplify that's good about him, positive traits, habits, and what must he eradicate now? You got to dig behind the layers of your own onion, as they say. But seriously, make sure you cry while you're peeling that onion. Don't take it lightly. That's the only way. And then you can put an action plan yourself or reach out to somebody who is a coach for personal development or whatever. Or if the help comes to you in unexpected ways, you know how the universe works, things just happen sometimes, or we think they just happen, and you'll be ready to accept the help. But it all starts with that self reflection. Without that, honestly, there's nothing. That's all it is. And you have to attach feeling to it. You can't just say, oh, I want to lose weight. I want to control my anger. No, you got to ask yourself why. What has the lack of control of putting things in my mouth that I shouldn't done to me in the past? What has losing my temper with people, events, and things done for me in the past? And then you can assess properly and make things happen, come up with a game plan. But it takes honestly an emotion, attaching it to it, not just saying you want to get better. That's cheap, I think, in my opinion.
Thank you, Danny. It's funny because you've touched on a few other things. One being, the nutrition, the working out and all the stuff. It's part of you. I love what you said about the self talk, right? You need to take time to ask the question. And by the way, that's an exercise for all of us. If you're watching this, you're listening today, whenever you get to this show, know that it starts as you said. You look in the mirror, and do you like what you see? Do you like what you hear? Do you like your situation, your who you are at the moment. Now you can say I'm perfect, and that's great. And remember, there's no such thing as perfectness. So we all have that illusion that we're perfect, and we all feel that we're the best that we can be, we can be at any moment. but they have measures for these things, right? You can see like, am I really in the best shape? Am I in the health? Am I a good father? Am I a good husband? Am I a good colleague? Am I a good employee? And start asking the questions, and you start like, and you have to be real about this. You can't be like, egoistic about it. It's like it's all about you. You have to really see it from like you get out of yourself and really like, you almost like, floating around you, looking at yourself, having a discussion with your other self in the mirror. But you have to look at it from this way, and then you can start seeing, be honest with yourself, and you're gonna see that there is no. But I have faults, and I have deficiencies, and I have things that I have to work on, and shortfalls, and I have those, and I know what they are, and I work on them every day. And everybody's gonna have to do. Now someone again can say, well, that's you guys, Danny and Hurricane. You are weak people. you, and by the way, there's no shame in the game. We can say that. Actually, admitting that you have problems when you have situations is the first key to everything else. Anyone that's been through addiction or problems or anger stuff, you got to start with that. I am an alcoholic. I am an addict. I am an anger person. I am. Once you admit that you are, I am not in shape. I am not healthy. I am eating bad stuff. I have a vice. When you start stating those things to yourself, you clearly understand that you have a situation, and it's not permanent, it's temporary, and you can fix it. But it starts with that first step. One thing you mentioned also early on is about sales. Now you're in sales. I love sales. I've been in sales all my life. And you know what? One thing about sales is that it teaches you development over. You cannot be a successful salesperson or sales advisor or a sales professional unless you are constantly improving yourself and providing a good development path, because you want to get better at whatever you do, whether it's through the art of selling and science of selling, the personality, your person, the way you behave, your customer care piece of it, all of that, your knowledge, your skills, you got to polish these things. So that's a continuous journey. It doesn't matter what level. You go to management, you still got to polish that. You go to senior management, leadership, C-suite, doesn't matter. Ownership, entrepreneurship, you still have to be like, always developing. And that's the other thing. There's a path, I mean, maybe you want to be that sales guy or gal, but you might want to, go to the next level, next level. But to get to the next level, you need a little bit more. And so you have to always look at that. So that comes along as a trait in the business of in business in general, but in sales particularly, you want that. Now that goes for any other profession. If you're a doctor, you need to keep up to date, otherwise you'll be so behind schedule. If you're a dentist, same thing. If you're an architect, you're an engineer, whatever you do, you're a lawyer. There are laws that come in every day, so you have to always update. If you're in tech changes like every day. So everything is about development. Now that's professional development, but personal development is part of that, and you want to be in there. So now let's talk about emotions. What's the role of emotions in somebody's I guess journey?
Absolutely. So emotions are everything because emotions are what is tied behind reactions, right? Versus responses, in my opinion, very different than reacting. Reacting is impulsive, should I say. Responding is different. It's when you actually take your time to breathe and analyze the situation and think logically over emotionally. So emotional regulation, being to understand when you're getting angry, really capturing yourself in the moment and telling yourself right away, am I going to blow up right now like having a past? Or are going to be bigger and I'm going to keep it cool and save myself and the other person so we can all win. So emotions are everything when it comes to everything we talked about, really. Once you're really able to understand yourself, you can understand your enemy, which is again yourself. Be aware, be a fly on the wall of your own self. Know when you're getting angry, control yourself, and you will live a much peaceful life. You won't be snappy reacting. You'll be a problem solver, if you will. You won't be leaving things up to fate. It's going to be in your hands.
And thank you. I mean, Danny, we are emotional beings, and we tend to emotionalize everything, right? Everything we process through our own feelings, right? And sometimes that creates the anger, peace, and all the stuff and the stress. And it could be a problem because if you're too emotional, then you're on the extreme side. If you no emotions or very little, that can be an extreme. But sometimes that can cause problems. For example, you get emotional, you get excited, you get angry, and now, I mean, it's just true story. We're working actually on a script for a movie, so eventually in about a year or so, that's going to be a play that we're working on. And in this particular context, we're talking. There's a whole plot about somebody's, getting so much pressure and things like that in life, and through whatever they're doing, and then it's going to cause that person to snap, and then that snap basically is going to cause a disaster, and that person is just going to turn into anger, and then the reaction of that is going to be bad. And of course the plot is that you gotta monitor all your emotions, because one all it takes is you get to that level of boiling water, boom, and then you're just over the board and it's over. I mean, now like it's like you can't bring some things back sometimes. It's over. And that can wind up in in a difficult situation, such as maybe incarceration, jail, whatever. Or it could be something just as lethal as you're fatal, you're done, you're dead, or yeah. I mean, so it's there's a bad outcome when you lose your emotions and you become too angry and whatever. Sometimes it can be just that you lose a family, like in the event of domestic stuff, right? People get angry and they just do things. And then now here goes the family and splits and everybody's on their way. The kids are not, in a bad place, in the best place. And so they're actually in a bad place and so on and so forth. So it is a big thing. So emotions are a key thing. And I think we all should take a minute to control our emotions and evaluate our emotions, where we stand, how can we can do it. By the way, we all have them. We all get to tense up a little bit. And unfortunately, what's around us is typically something that can just get those emotion high. From the marketing, everything that we get every day, from the news, from the stuff that we hear, the wars, the work pressure, this, that, yeah, everything gets within, and then eventually you're just boiling inside, and then emotions get tight and higher, and then, poof, it can be a problem. So that's an important. So thank you for touching on that one. Now, there's another piece, Danny, that is discipline. Not everybody is disciplined. So how do we tackle the discipline, part of it? Because we need to have some level of discipline to be able to manage all these things and to be aware. Because the stuff that you're talking about, right, Danny, without any discipline, you can't do it.
Of course. I liken it the easiest way, just combining the word discipline in the back of your mind with consistency. You want to get good at anything, like riding a bike, you got to do it more than once. Or you want to get good at shooting a basketball, you got to do it more than once. You see the never ending theme there? You got to do it more than once, whatever it is. No matter how you're feeling, how much you have on your plate, we all have problems. How strong is your willpower in whatever thing you're trying to achieve, whatever objective? Just realize you have to put your heart in it, and that goes back to the honest self-assessment. Once you attach an emotion to it, how good you feel when you achieve it, then that makes it easier for you to stick to something day in and day out. That's what we call discipline. You don't miss no matter what towards your objective. That's what's going to lead the way for you, to answer your question.
But then again, so some people say, well, I get that, but how can I keep it? How can I keep up, and be in discipline all the time? Because I mean, sometimes we all kind of lack discipline at a point, and so how do you maintain that? I mean, what is some of the tricks that we could share with our audiences today?
Exactly. Based on my own experience, frankly, it's going to sound so rudimentary, but just keep trying day in and day out. Eventually, you will catch a stride of momentum. There's nothing else I can add to it, honestly, from experience, or else I'd be lying to you. It's as simple as just keep on trying. You might miss 5 days in a row, but you might enter a little streak where you have 2 days of winning, checking the list, and that gives you confidence. Then that can become a third day and fourth day and fifth day. You might screw up again for 5 days in a row after that. But as long as you keep showing up that's what I can tell you. That's really the only way. Just keep trying. And not in a half-assed way. You better put your all every freaking time. Believe that. And that's what I can tell you, man. Very simple. Like my whole philosophy with everything is just keep it simple, stupid. Just keep showing up honestly, and that's it.
Well, I mean, again, it's big. Showing up is big, right? You got to be there, and you got to be consistent, as you said. And it's not going to happen unless you really practice. I mean, discipline is just doing the things over and over, and in the cadence, in the frequency that is there, and you remain tied to that, formula, and you don't give up, and you just keep at it until you become good, and it becomes part of you. So that's the whole idea. You got to make it a habit, a daily thing. That if you're missing, you're like something short. That you like you're off. When you get to that point, then you know that you are in the right path. But that journey takes time. Now, depending on how much baggage we have, that can be a problem. Depends how much time we have been bad in and completely flow, with all these things, I mean, flawed with our emotions and life and styles and things like that. That can be a challenge for us. But again, you need to start small steps, right? That's the thing. It's not a overnight change. This is none of this that Danny and I were talking about is overnight stuff. It takes first you got to be aware, as we said, and all that stuff. But then once you get started in the journey, it takes work, it takes dedication, it takes, you know, real commitment and being consistent. And you'll get to that route as long as you set those goals and you really know where you want. Things will start, and you start seeing results. And when you start showing and seeing those results, things are going to feel better. And that's all there is. And this goes about, like, I love, talked about food, nutrition, in types of the working out, all these things make you who you are and a better you. Now, not all of us do all these things. I mean, we lack on the food side, we lack on the gym side, and we all slack off every now and then. And that's the thing. But I love what you say. You do a couple of days, you miss a week, you miss a few days. No, you got to go back and you get into it. And again, it's a struggle. Again, we're not saying this is going to be like, hey, just switch on and everything's going to like shift. This is not a magic formula or magic wand. Click and it's voila. No, it doesn't work though. You really got to work towards these things. And again, some of us may not have, I guess, the personality, the tools to actually do this on our own. Therefore, we need somebody to help us. And there's plenty out there, for as resources. I mean, Danny is taking this journey himself, and he is doing this to help others be better and be disciplined and develop themselves to the next level and a better level. So what else, Danny? Like, how does your program work? Let's say someone is completely off. I mean, you start with an assessment, then what's the next step?
Absolutely. So going back to the first stuff, I really want to touch up on this. The first thing I ask my clients, potential clients, is this: what's your biggest vice? Even if they tell me they just want to lose weight or do this or that, I go to the root of all the problems. What is your biggest vice? What is that causes you guilt that makes you turn to things that made you get out of shape physically? Stress, eat, as they say, or become angry and resentful and lash out at others. You tell me you're looking for happiness, peace in your life because you lash out at people. What's the vice that's causing you to act that way? You understand? And so that's what I would say. From there, I have people admit what their vices are. Liberate yourself. Don't just tell yourself what they are. Tell someone like Danny, project it. Now you have to put an action plan in place because you just exposed yourself, which is a good thing. And that's accountability right there, right? You just told the world what your issue is. Now you got to back it up. If you love yourself, you're going to fix it, right? You're not going to look like a fool, are you? And from there, I create a very simple program based on mind, body, and spirit. I believe personal development encompasses all those things. Again, mind, body, and spirit. Body, I have them eating healthy, working out, counting their macros so you can get lean. I get them lean because that takes sacrifice. Losing body fat, you got to suffer with the dieting and working out. You got to enter that zone of sacrifice for something better, your future better self, as they say nowadays, right? You got to earn it. For the mind, I have them doing things like doing self-reflection in the morning. Very simple. Reading, say, inspirational works, some books of a page, get the mind going. And the spirit portion, I have them waking up as early as possible. That in itself shows gratitude for life. So in the morning, you take care of yourself in mind, body, and spirit. The rest of the day, you're beaming in a high frequency in all arenas that I just explained. Now you're just a ball of energy, and you can go ahead and serve others more now. Danny already took care of himself in the morning with his morning process. It's time to serve Hurricane and the neighbors and the coworkers and the clients now. I'm good. It's time to give to the world. And I still have about 15 hours to go. So it's going to be a great freaking day. You know what I mean? Everyone wins. I win. People win. It's all good. So,
Wow. Well, that's quite a bit of stuff because I mean, you talked about you have to admit, and so that starts with that, like, are they willing to admit? I mean, it is hard to say I have a problem. And we talked about self-talk. That's one thing. I mean, I can talk to myself and realize that I have problems, but it's one thing to talk to yourself, and another is to talk to a stranger and say, "Hey, listen, I'm not doing good here. I need help." And frankly, I've done quite a few shows that are similar, and the theme is the same. I love what you said, the nutrition, the stuff, but it starts with those elements. You gotta open up. You gotta let it out. Just get out of your system. And if you can't figure out yourself, there's a way to do it. And I love what you said. You touch on all the different things that are necessary: body, mind, spirit. And the body needs to be healthy, so everything else functions well. The mind has to be in the best shape and form and the right stage and status to be able to give and be like super exciting. And of course, the spirituality of it, it's like you gotta vibe into that higher level frequency, energy, and all the stuff. Prayer is great, and by the way, we're not talking about religious stuff. Now ultimately, if you have a religious belief, that sometimes it's even better because it gets you a little bit more structure in those realms. But even if not, I mean, you'll find yourself in a particular mood. And I love what you said. By the early dawn of the day, you're already like excited and ready to roll and help others. Now again, this, you're in sales, you wake up, you got to motivate yourself and get all happy, and then you go out there to help people. And then by helping those folks, you're helping yourself regardless, because those results are going to be in form of income and growth and targets met and all the stuff. So, but really, and that's the other thing. It's not just about you. I mean, many have families, they have kids, they have spouses, they have parents, or they're just friends and colleagues at work. And so if you're really not feeling well and doing good, that's actually going to impact your relationship with everybody else. So you are number one. You look up after yourself, you get yourself set, the rest is history. Then you can be better element to everybody else in your entourage and environment. So that's an important piece. Now, when you as a coach and you talk to people, what are some of the things that you feel are difficult for people to admit, or to really just work through? Because not everybody is going to be the same. Are there things that you have more challenges with than with some than others?
Yeah, for sure. As far as challenging, so far in this stage of my career, I actually don't have a huge number of clients, so I don't have a specific baseline to reference.
Mhm.
It will come, though. I know it will. One thing that I can tell you that is difficult amongst everyone uniform, but they always end up admitting it, is what we said earlier. When I ask them up front, they're not even expecting it. What's your biggest vice? You
Mm.
feel a long pause. Like I'm talking like a few seconds at least. Like you can feel the guilt just there. They don't want to admit it. You know how men are very prideful, human beings in general. And then it finally comes out and they go, it's pornography or something like that. Alcohol after a long pause. So you know that's how you know it's real. They didn't want to verbalize it. You can feel the guilt, the tension in their body, in their spirit. But they finally said it because I asked them very frankly, what are you going to do? Freaking hide from me? You can't. You're there. I have a flashlight in front of you. Tell me. Um, so that's one thing I would say that is difficult for guys to do at first, but they always do it eventually. As far as other things that come up, I'm sure they will. And I'll notice patterns of inconsistency in folks, and I'll have to figure out what exactly is holding them back. That's where the sales aspect comes in. Ask them good questions, really help them reflect, get to know them better as my people, really. Mm-hmm.
So people, they know everything. I mean, I think everybody knows a little bit of everything, right? And we know when things are wrong and where they're right, but yet we don't sometimes want to know. I think like sometimes ignorance is a bliss, as they say. We just kind of like kind of put all these blockades around us, the just covers, right? To to almost kind of shield ourselves from the reality and the truths. And I think that's where you mentioned the key word liberating, right? When you have that question asked to you and you have to really say, well, my vice is, by the way, I love what you said. It's a pause, because sometimes it's more than one vice. We have a
Yeah.
few of them. So which one is really the one that's really as bad as, sometimes they're just like, I got this and the other, forget about it, dude. I am a mess, and by the way, this stuff, if you're watching right now, listening, just ask the question before you even reach out to Danny or anybody. Just pretend that you're talking to someone. What would, if that question was asked to you right now, what would you say? And you'll see exactly what Danny is talking about. You'll be like, now some people will be like, oh, I know that is, hey, I am bad, I drink a lot, or I love, I said, pornography, or like this or
Yeah.
the other one. And for guys, I mean, those are the typical ones. I mean, those are the standard ones. Now some people have other vices. They like to gamble. Some people have shopaholic stuff. They just go and spend money they don't have. I mean, it could be a lot of things, right? Some people have different reasons. Now that's a question, Danny. Now, not everybody is equal, right? Some people have gone through trauma during their life, right? Whether through the youth when they were kids, whether through a relationship, whether through, let's say, military or work, or there are traumas that are happening to life. As you are aging in life, you're going through experiences, and some of these experiences can be real traumatizing, right? And so you will get some bad impact from those. Do you get to discuss those things with people? Are they? I mean, is that part of at least the examples that you've worked with? Do you have some of that as part of your discussion?
Oh yeah, for sure. Part of establishing that future vision for themselves, I ask them frankly, what's gonna happen, brother, if you keep doing this and that that's not serving you now? What do you think is gonna happen when it comes to being unhealthy with eating? Like, do you really think it's okay to become, say, a self-induced diabetic or have cardiovascular issues, lung issues? Because it will happen. Because I know this because I sell health insurance right now for seniors full time until this business grows, the coaching. And so I know how people destroy themselves, right? A lot of health problems that seniors in particular have are self-induced from eating and just bad habits throughout life. And I tie that sales experience into what I see with my own clients to my coaching clients. And whatever they're trying to fix, whatever advice they want to eliminate, I ask them, what do you think is going to happen if you keep this up, man? As simple as that. Ask them very directly, be very frank, and they'll reciprocate if they're honest with themselves, frankly. That's what it comes down to.
Well, first of all, it's funny because you said about you're in health insurance and you work with the senior market. That's where I come in, and that's my world too. And so I can relate to that. And you're right.
Okay.
When you meet with seniors, right? These are people that are 65 and over, and they've lived a decent amount of their lives. But a lot of, when the reason we talk, with insurance is that they might have medical needs and, health issues and concerns. And so you have to evaluate what plans are going to work, what benefits. And sometimes, you have discussions, as I've had a few. I mean, people sometimes have regrets. People have, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that. I wouldn't be in my position today. And, when you think about it, like when you're early on, know that I always say this: there's two ways to go. We're gonna live long, or we're not gonna live. I mean, so if you depart early, well, you're out. That's it. That's done. But if you live, which we would like to at least have a decent amount of time frame that goes before we depart this world, well, you want to be in the best shape, form, health, whatever, relationships, and all the stuff. Now, if you do all the wrong things, it will be difficult later on. And you know what? Talking about insurance, sometimes you might even be difficult to find the right product because you have too many needs, and sometimes you're not going to get the services and things like that that you might want, or maybe some of that stuff is not enough. So it's difficult. So it's decisions we make early on in our lives that can actually really determine how well life's going to be with us, for us in the long term. And by the way, this is not only you. Again, we always look at ourselves as us, me, the being, but know that any one of us is affecting everybody else around them. And that's just a fact. I mean, you can tell me I don't have anybody in my life, but you still interact in this world with people. So therefore, you're still impacting people. So it doesn't matter. You go to a store, you work somewhere, you're gonna you may have no family, but sometimes we adopt families, like at work. I mean, you have colleagues. Sometimes we spend more time at work than at home, and you have issues. And sometimes at meetings it reflects, and sometimes you have issues at work because you have interpersonal skills that are lacking because of who you've been or whatever. So all these things we can work on, and hopefully be able to not only live a better life but also have better relationships and so on and so forth. Now, you said you're in the 30s. That's a beautiful age. That's actually the best time frame. I think the 20s, that's fun stuff, but 30s is really, you got a nice window. If you can get your act together in the 30s, you're gonna have a better place, and you can prep and kind of almost reduce the risks for as you age and as you mature. Because I mean, you can be healthier, you can be happier, you can be a lot more energizing and energized, as you grow in time. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can be living with vitality and full energy and all the stuff. And again, it's the habits that you build. Not everybody has those things. Some people do, some people don't. And again, the whole idea, Danny, and by the way, congratulations for doing this. I mean, I love what you just said, something important. You are doing this until it picks up. And in the meantime, you're still helping people, helping yourself, doing the insurance stuff. There's no shame in the game. That a lot of people said, well, because that example can be applied to a lot of people that we're listening right now. Well, I want to change my career. I want to change what I do, and I want it to be overnight. Well, nothing's overnight, right? You want to be almost working in parallel. This one is here, pays the bills. This one is building until you get to a healthy point, and then you can remove one or keep that on the side, and this becomes your primary. And that's actually another challenge. Now let's talk about that, Danny. I think one of the main things, since people are always concerned about finances, so what would you tell people about that? Because I think that's a big one. I mean, health and feeling good and being good, but then also people are always worried and concerned about the money and the lack of and the expenses and how do I make things. I'm tired of working for someone. What do you tell people? What do you say to people to that?
Absolutely. I'd say based on experience with this coaching thing, it helps me become elated when I have to give it just think about it because it's my passion. I'd say first focus in on what you really truly love. And nowadays you can really monetize anything. It's true, right? With the internet, the spread of information, awareness, eyeballs, audience, you can literally make a business out of your passion, even if you think it's the tiniest market ever. There's gonna be more people than you think that are gonna like it. Okay. So really dig into your passion and know that as long as you market yourself well online in particular, you will reach an audience over time. But like you were saying, it's a battle of attrition. You must understand that it is certainly not overnight. In fact, you have to be fully aware and accept the fact that it's going to stink the workload. While you're working your current full time and you're growing your business, it's going to feel overwhelming. Like, holy crap, can I catch a breath? And that's what it is, though. You have to accept that. And why is that easier to accept than we think if we really dig into it? It's a pattern, it's a recurring pattern. Anyone you talk to who's successful, who had to work their full time first and grow their side business until that became their full time lifestyle, will tell you the same thing, okay, that I just explained. That no man's land, that transition period. So that makes you understand that it's natural order. It's going to suck for a while, the workload. Okay. So once you accept, I know that the suck is going to come, makes it easier to bear. It's still going to suck. Okay. But you have to embrace it. It's going to toughen you over time. And if you just stick to it, you'll be just fine. But be realistic in the sense that, I mean, winter is coming and you better coat up. As long as you have the coat, though, you'll be fine. Just keep moving forward, man. And you won't freeze to death.
Well,
So,
thank you, because that's a great thing. I mean, you're talking about passion, and you can, if you're passionate about anything, you can make a transition. That's another thing you need to assess. What do I really want? Because a lot of we go back to that first discussion about you going to college and figuring out whether it's for you or not. It took you time to get in. That actually is the thing. Some people they say college is not for me, and actually I've seen a lot of success stories that actually opted out of college and they still did well. Now that's not the general rule, but the fact is, if you feel that you have something else that you want to do, you can do it. If not, education. Now it's not for the sake of knowledge, because like again, knowledge is available free anywhere. I mean, Google, whatever, all these search engines now, YouTube. I mean, you can learn practically anything that you want. I mean, there's courses, there's everything. But the fact is, it's what is it that makes it tick for you, and that's the passion. Again, I have this thing that I refer to as TGIMs, like thank God is Monday. So if you have it, thank God is Monday versus a TGIF, then you don't have to worry about work because you're happy every morning. You'll get it up and it's like you said, I'm gone. I'm doing my stuff. I'm pumping. I'm out there. I'm helping people, and every day is a great day. You're looking forward to that day. And yes, in the building of the transition, it is tough. I can relate to it. I've been, building this media company for a few years, and while I'm doing a full-time job. And so it is a difficult task. And you put in a lot of hours, but I know the satisfaction that's coming. I see how the progress is. I see where it's going. I can see some results. And that's actually given and it's passion. I love what I do. So yes, it's worth every time and hour and minute that I do. And I put in because I know at a certain point I will be like, okay, this is it for me, and I'm going to enjoy it. Love what you said. Just go up, get ready. The winter is here. I mean, but the summer is coming. But you got to get ready until then, and you can get through this transition, easily. I mean, with less impact or less, sickness or illness or problems. But be careful. Be aware that it's not going to be like, hey. See, that's the thing. Sometimes I watch things online and I'm almost, it feels like, it's like, hey, you could become a millionaire today. Ask a millionaire, did they become millionaire overnight? I doubt it. I mean, unless they put a certain amount of money and the stock dive, they made the move and, they just happened to be, but that's going to be like 0.1111 or 0.0001%, right? It's not the majority of cases. Majority, there's no overnight success. It's 10 years, 20 years, 5 years overnight success concept than one night overnight success. Doesn't work that way. It takes time. It takes preparation. It takes, passion. It takes resilience. It takes a lot of sweat, a lot of regrets, a lot of doubt, a lot of. It means that pyramid, right? I mean that not a pyramid. That's the iceberg, picture, right? You
Right.
always see it all over tip of the iceberg, and then deep down, there's a lot of bad things happening, and you see just that top. It's a success, right? Well, that's exactly what it is. But every one of us can make it, but you have to open up to these things. If you're not happy with whatever you're doing today, what's stopping you from moving? What's stopping you is fear. That's the biggest one. I mean, that inside of you that says, "Oh my God, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?" And then you have also, accountability sometimes to family and stuff. Like you're afraid to make moves. And a lot of these folks, I mean, if you have a passion and that's driving you, people around you will embrace it too, and they will make sacrifices with you. Your family will understand, because at the end of the day, you're doing it. If you become great and successful, they're going to benefit from that, and so they can see that. But it's not easy, and it's never going to be easy unless you actually, work towards it to make it easy. I mean, you have to accept certain the facts, and then it's okay. Another day, you keep up, and you again one success at a time, one step towards the success can make a difference. Now, how long have you been doing this for?
Since July of last year. July of last year, man. Quite new.
All right. Well, again, there's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I love your energy. I mean, you already taken it on the road. You're doing anything. You're building it. You're putting a name out there. And yes, I mean, there is a need. There's a lot of coaches, a lot of personal development, a lot of life and business, but we're never gonna have enough because there's also a lot of us out there that need help and that can use the assistance and help. Even this show, I mean, we're sharing values that people can actually take from. That's work that you're doing, that you're helping, and that you're actually planting seeds in somebody else's life. And sometimes, these people share that information with others and so on and so forth, and that ripple effect goes, and the wave just keeps touching on other locations and other people, and people are being changed. But you know what? It's how scary was it for you to actually get into this? Because as we were talking about, it's not easy. How what was that decision that's like, what, I'm gonna do this? I know that you talked about like you wanted to make a difference, but really like pulling the actual curtain and say, okay, I'm in. That's it. I'm committed to this. How hard was that decision?
Absolutely. The decision itself wasn't hard. Here's some context to it, though, why it wasn't hard for me. But I'll explain what was hard also, right? There's always something there, right? Or again, we're peeling the layers of the onion. And so what made me decide to really head into my passion of personal development as a business for others, in service of others, I started listening to a gentleman called Wes Watson. Are you familiar with who that is? Wes Watson? He's a personality online. He's an influencer, as they say. But more than that, he's probably the hottest personal development coach on the planet. He's Watson underscore fit on Instagram. He's massive, and he has a podcast. I started listening to his podcast about a year ago, maybe not a year, maybe 8 months ago, let's say, and I got entranced in it. And remember, he's a personal development coach. And in one of his reportings, he
Yeah,
said,
I see him.
um, exactly, man, he spoke the words that just struck me and hit my conscience hard. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, basically share with the world what works for you, your own process. And for me, it's holy crap, personal development. I've worked so hard over the years to better myself and never go back to any bad potential of myself. And it's made my life better and it makes me happy. Now that I'm older and I believe in the concept of karma, I combine those two things instantly. Holy crap, I had to do this not just for me, but for people in general, karma. And so I hit up Wes Watson because he also coaches people to become coaches, right? You got me? And so that was easy for me because my conscience was clear. I knew what I had to do right away. It hit me like a lightning rod. The more difficult part was maybe paying for the course, but I spent no time backtracking. It was scary, but I hit the credit card, submitted to Wes, and he helped me set myself up as a coach online and how to market myself. And here I am now. So luckily, I didn't let fear hold me back time wise. It was scary, but I still acted. That's a big foundation of what I teach. Just acting, even though it's scary, whatever the heck it is, man. You just got to go forward, man.
Well, also, thank you. First of all, so there's a great example, folks. You are today teaching and building your presence, right? And your business really, in a few months. And it is difficult. These are the hardest days because you're building that foundation to get really where you need to be. But here's a good example. So Wes Watson, definitely a coach that helped you. Now remember, now, this is exactly what it is. Now he helped you. Now you're going to help others, and that's exactly the legacy. So he's putting the legacy out there. These podcasts out there do exactly. You started by listening to them. You know how many people I've had that were guests that actually listened to so many podcasts, and all of a sudden something clicks, and they're like, "Oh, that's it. This is it. This is the change in moment." And you don't know when that is, but it would happen if you are listening out there. You got to be like, I always say this, be like one of those receiver dishes, right? You just like, open up to the sky and let those things, the frequencies hit in, and then keep tweaking and keep getting that nice little, modulation into place. And before you know it, you're going to get that right zap. And that's it. That's basically it. Now, love what you said that it was scary. Do you know what? If you start thinking too much, hesitating, you're gonna get all the regrets and all like, no, maybe, and the sabotage is gonna start happening, within, and not good. But you say like, that's it, I'm done, I'm in, I'm committed. You commit to something and you start. Here's the worst thing that can happen. You're gonna learn a few things. So it's a win-win, at all times. But what you did is you did it. You learned. Now you're actually acting up on it. Real life. You're not hesitating. You're not actually scared. You're going out there now. You're doing your own podcast out there, talking, to people like myself, and probably gonna have your own podcast, in no time, because that's exactly what's gonna happen. You're gonna feel the vibe. You're gonna be so, into it, and you're gonna have enough to give to people as well, and you're gonna share that, and you're gonna put that out there. And by the way, this is exactly that. Everybody, what you're doing, what I'm doing, what Watson did. I'm sure he had a story too that he started with similarly, and then he built himself towards where he is. And a lot of those influencers that we hear and look at stuff and get, nuggets from every day. Joe Rogan and all these guys, Simon Sinek, they're all out there, and they started their journey the same thing as, everybody else. It starts small with the passion, with the belief, and with the will and a mission to help others. And yes, they're building a successful business for themselves, but they're doing it by helping others. And that's actually a good thing. I mean, you can be as successful as you want, but at the same time, the biggest success in this is that you're helping others become successful. And there's no price to that. I think personally, there's no price to it because, just know that out there, somebody is going to be benefited from this and it's going to be changing their lives because of you. You did that. I mean, look, you're giving credit to the dude, right? And, I'm sure he has, if you talk to him, he's going to tell you that he had somebody else who actually influenced him. We all have someone that gave us that push and that nice little, pitch or whatever that made us make, the decision on moving with our passion. And really that's exactly it. So folks watching, listening, find your passion. And if you don't know how, you seek the help. We have you today with us. You're definitely available, ready to help someone and share. Really, I mean, you learn from some of the best people out there, and you have enough to give, and it's your own formula. I mean, obviously, you're not sharing the template, of Watson, but you have your own way of doing this, and you have, yourself experienced things in life that you can relate to, and you can assist. And there's nothing, that cannot be happening for someone out there watching and listening right now. So
Mm-hmm.
so anything else, Danny?
For sure. Just last thing, man. Even if it's scary as hell, just do it anyways. One thing, as we were just talking about, just confronting fear and just doing away with it, just really fighting it, putting your dukes up and courage. Ask yourself this question: whenever you feel the fear mount up, ask yourself: are the scenarios we play in our head, do they ever even materialize? They usually don't. It's usually just a farce. It's a cop out. So keep that in mind. Just open that freaking door of the unknown. It might just be a green pasture, opposite of what you thought it was. Just do it, man. There's only one way to find out, right? That's it.
It's funny you said that because you don't know that's exactly right. You don't know. And so open the door. If you don't like what you see, close the door again.
That's it.
it's like it's windy, cluck, that's it, you're done. But you open your mind, like what you see, and the life is just there. Now, sometimes it doesn't even, it's just small investments, that you probably like, okay, I'm gonna be spending a couple of $100 doing bullshit this month. Well, let me test that out. I've done exactly that many, many times. Somebody comes with an opportunity, I'll look it up. Sometimes I pay some stuff to actually investigate this opportunity. I see something in it, I love it. I don't see something else, I back off. And even when you back off, you're actually taking stuff. You have material, you have things, you have learning experiences. You picked up a few things that you can apply in your own life, and you still win. There's no loss there. You always like, how much this is going to cost me? It's just an expensive experience or cheap experience, whatever it is. It's that's how you value it. Like, but it's all an experience. Some experiences we pay more than others, but at the end of the day, you learn. It's like going to school. What do you think school is? You pay to go to learn from people's experiences and studies and and work that they've done. I mean, these lectures that you get, are typically from work that these professors have done and research that they've done, or researches and books that were already available in that particular realm. And you pick up those things because they kind of put them together for you, so it's easier to digest. But at the end of the day, you're paying for that experience and that knowledge. You go to college, you pay for the college. You got a master's degree, you're gonna pay for that so you can learn. Well, it's the same thing. You can pay for other types of experiences that are outside of the school system to teach you a few tricks. And you know what? Coaching and whether it's live business or personal development, these are, or even fitness, these are all things that we all need. Now, some of us, may be good at one thing versus the other. You cannot be full at, a good at everything. There is no perfect, again, being. That's just how it is. So you need to know, like, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and you work on both. Like you expand on the superior stuff that you have, the good stuff, and then you work on the ones that you lack. And then, like I said, you have a short, fall in something. Well, guess what? Find someone to complement it, do some work and some advice. Now, let me ask you a question. What does your program look like? I'm assuming that varies from one person to the other, but what is your typical program, length is?
Yeah, typically minimum 3 months. I believe 3 months is a magic number. Three, a quarter. There's 4 quarters in a year, right? There's a quarter for taxes. I like to think of that as a very sustainable time length to see really results. Give it a month in anything that you do. Personal development training is no different. 3 months, that's enough time to really see results or not. Whether you put in the work, of course, that's the key. 3 months, that's a minimum.
Also, but again, you do require people to really commit and be accountable, because I think that's one of the things about you as a coach is that you want to keep these people accountable for their actions and the work that you put them through, and they have to be honest about it and they have to document it. That's the other thing, right? Not you don't. Okay, I'm working with you. Thank you. And I did all the stuff you told me. Like, well, show me the proof. Show me the money, right? That's usually the case. It takes time to adjust. And by the way, that's the other thing. Like, first month's not going to be, much. You're just basically doing the assessment, going to basics, especially if someone's been like really entrenched in it for years into a particular way. You're not going to change somebody overnight. It's going to take some time to do that. But 3 months now. But would you work with someone longer if you need it?
Oh, for sure. Longer if needed. I sell packages, 3 months, 6 months, or a year of my personal development program. I'll even do a month hurricane, don't get me wrong. But a month is enough to get you excited. By the second month, you can see some results. By month three, it's certified. You're either getting results or you're not. You see what I'm saying? So I'm open to doing a month, get people excited, let them believe in themselves for a month. But then I would recommend something longer, more prolonged to really get the results long term. 3 months, 6, 12 of their choosing. Mm-hmm.
Can people reach out to you, Danny, to get started with you?
Yeah, definitely. My Instagram, Danny Boy Cardenas. That's Danny. B is in Bueno in Spanish. Oy Cardenas. Danny
All
Boy
right.
Cardenas. That's where I'm at Instagram.
All right. So again, if you'll find the link to Danny in the description of the show, so do check him out, and connect with him. Do you do any consulting or consultations rather, with people before, or people have to start with you immediately?
No, people can talk to me. I can do a quick phone call, get to know them, see what exactly they want and why. Just really establish a relationship there. But again, get a true commitment. You either want to get better or you're not. But I'm open to calls before signing people up, of course. Sometimes people need that. Some people will just sign up right away. It's all situational. Everyone's different. But the end goal should be the same to get better.
And you're talking about, basically nutrition, fitness, and the mindset and everything else, right? So it's the whole shebang.
Mhm. Mind, body, and spirit, man. And not even fitness. I'll never accept being called a personal trainer. That's not what I am. I'm a personal development coach, mind, body, and spirit. Productive habits, reading, waking up early, showing gratitude, eating well, working out, get you aligned in everything. Again, mind, body, and spirit. What else can I say?
All right, no, that's it, man. That's plenty.
Yeah.
You've covered quite a bit. Well, Danny, I mean, thank you so much, man. I mean, I love these discussions, and I try to usually take some of the stuff you say and kind of, um, break it down in a different angle, and just reemphasize on things, and really, it's important work that you do out there. And hopefully we'll touch some people today. And by the way, it's not just today. This show is evergreen, so people are going to listen to it today. It will replay in the network for months, and it will be, of course, on all the social media and stuff, so people can get to it. Downloads every day are happening, so people are going to be downloading. And by the way, this is again all over the world, so I think, Danny, you're not limited to anybody, because this is like online, so you can reach out, to anyone anywhere, right? So there's nothing more to that, folks. So, Danny, thank you so much. But before we leave, can you just give people just your last piece of advice and wisdom?
Yeah. Just believe in yourself, guys. Love yourself enough to take action consistently. Don't just try it out. Don't hop on a bike for a few pedals. Try to hit the freaking block. And then the block might become a street. And the street, you might end up in the next town. You can only find out, though, by taking action, right? And again, what's the worst that could happen?
Just speaks louder than words, right? That's it. Well, thank you for those words of wisdom. Folks, I mean, there you have it. We're coming to the end of the show. Hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and definitely do reach out to Danny if you think you or someone that you know needs, an assistance or at least guidance. And I think it's an important piece to do so. If not, I'm Hurricane H. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. But for now.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. I had a great time.